Hi, thank you so much and welcome back. I titled this video 10 Years a Slave because for a very intense 10-year period, my mind and emotions were hijacked. I was vulnerable and I didn't know who I was. And I'll tell you something, that is not a good thing in this day and age that we live in. You know, I've had people, ask, well, how does something like that happen? It happened for me for the same reason it happens for a lot of people. I'm a product of my environment. And the environment that we live in is increasingly becoming more and more conducive for people to find themselves in vulnerable positions, both emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, psychologically, and physically. The how of why all that unfolds is not as important as the information that I want to share in this video, which has everything to do with how I broke that cycle and how I've helped so many other people to break that cycle and actually become clear, happy, confident, grounded, and strong in a new relationship environment that I've heard you talk. You've probably heard me talk about it many times. This new climate that we live in, it's in everyone's best interest to cultivate your life and yourself and your stance in this world, and one of clarity and confidence. So, if you've watched my videos before, in every video I talk about how amazing, beautiful, wonderful, sweet the world can be. There's a lot of wonderful things here to enjoy. I want you to enjoy it fully, and I want you to enjoy it in a grounded way and have the experiences that are here for you. And it has become my pleasure and my passion to see to it that you are taking this walk well in emotional and physical health and strength. So I want to go over two techniques today, and this video is actually going to be part of an ongoing series on emotional wellness and actually strategies you can incorporate right away to make a difference in your life. And these two techniques are called scanning. It's daily scanning and daily programming. Now, if you've ever noticed for yourself that sometimes these emotions can seem to hit you out of the blue, or you start out in your day feeling good and by the end of the day it's a 360 and you just really don't have an explanation for it. Well, there's always an explanation for it. And one of those explanations is we live so distracted. We live such a fast-paced life that half the time things will happen to us. We may have an exchange, we may get a phone call, or it could be the thought process going on in our mind. More and more we're living so unconsciously that we're not even tracking the flow of what's happening in our minds, what's happening in our emotions day to day. Now, if you've ever been on an airplane, what a lot of people take for granted is the fact that, you're enjoying your ride in the airplane, but guess what? There are thousands, if not millions, of little maneuvers being done every day by the pilot, by the autopilot on the plane, that ensures you don't experience the turbulence, the bumps, the things that could either cause a rocky flight or, in a worst case scenario, a crash landing. So what I'm telling you is, if we start to look at managing our minds, our hearts, our spirits, our bodies like flying a plane, making the commitment up front, I got to do ongoing maintenance. This is not just a one-shot deal. If you situate yourself and your mind like that, making the commitment to your ongoing emotional wellness becomes easier. So back to the scanning. When we start to scan ourselves during the day, I want you to imagine that this scan is very much like an x-ray machine that's kind of, you know, scanning, that scans the body, but it's going to be more of an x-ray machine for your mind and your emotions. So when you start to utilize daily scanning, it creates accountability, and daily scanning is something that if you practice it, it becomes very natural and even fun to some extent, because you start to work with yourself and you're in tune with yourself in a different way. And if you catch that change in emotion and the reason for it, if you catch it before it, you know, becomes a hijack situation and runs away with you, guess what? You're going to experience better overall functioning, which is my goal for you. I hope that's your goal for yourself. So how do we operate when we scan? Let me give you an example. Say your friend calls you up on the phone, okay, and you have half an hour conversation or so, and she's talking a lot about this horrible relationship she's in and how verbally or emotionally abusive this person is, and you're listening, you kind of give her your advice, you kind of get the feeling it goes in one ear and out the other. You hang up the phone, and all of a sudden, you know, your internal mood dips. So if you're not doing any scanning, you just kind of go on with your day, grab some lunch, and probably by 5 o'clock, you know, the situation, the emotional situation going on inside of you has intensified. But if you're doing your scanning, whenever there's a little dip, you know, because you're constantly asking yourself the question, you know, how am I doing? How's it going? So whenever there's a dip, because you're so in tune with yourself, you know, you're actually checking in and asking, you catch it. You're going to grab it right then and there. And if you're doing your scan, the next logical question you ask yourself, what is going on with me and why? Okay, we're going to keep going with the example we used. Number one, what is going on with me is I just had a conversation with someone who is near and dear to my heart and is being verbally abused. She brought it to me. I gave her my advice. I don't get the feeling that she's going to take it, and that really worries me, and it has created a heaviness on my chest. Okay. So number two, you've identified why your emotions have dipped. So the next thing when we're working our scan, we don't just leave it there. We create a counter. We create a counter message. We create a miniature intervention for ourselves to clear that energy field away. And one of the things I want to draw to your attention, a lot of times when other people, you know, come into our life based on conversation or something that's going on, and after they leave, we may experience an energetic dip. A lot of times it's because we are not staying inside of our own emotional business, so to speak. So in this case, you could say to yourself, you know what? The truth of the matter is I'm jumping over into her business. I'm minding her business. And anytime you step out of your own emotional business or the immediate concerns for yourself, and you're over here tending someone else's garden, 9 times out of 10, that's going to cause pain for you. You know why? Because you are operating outside of something that you cannot control. You know, you have no control there, but yet you're putting your emotion and worry there. So after you reaffirm yourself and give yourself that kind, loving reminder, hey, you know what? I've done what I can. I am outside of my own emotional business. Let me jump back in here. I was in a good mood. I'm going to stay in a good mood, and, you know, let me go on with my day. So that, you know, that's an example of how you scan. When you're scanning, you know, you are addressing the issues as they come up. You're not letting them sit. You're not letting them fester. Let me give you another example of how you might, how a scanning might work for you. Say that, you know, you're feeling up, you're getting off work, but all of a sudden you're in traffic, and you're kind of sitting there, you're sensing yourself, because you scan throughout the day, you're sensing yourself become fidgety, irritated, maybe even angry. So what you don't do is just let that fester, and by the time you get home, you're off to the races. You can't enjoy your family, you can't enjoy your downtime. What you do when you're scanning is you address it. You're addressing it with yourself as it comes up. And you could easily do the mini intervention right there in traffic, and telling yourself, you know what, I'm in traffic. This traffic isn't going anywhere. And I know full well, if I don't get myself calm, take a couple deep breaths and relax, I am going to let this carry over into my evening, and it's going to ruin my evening at home with my pet, my family, whatever the case may be. So we scan it, we catch it, we correct it. All right, we catch it, we make our correction, and keep ourselves level. But that's throughout the day. That's throughout the day. You catch it, you make the correction, and you keep moving. And the thing about this, the more you train yourself to use the scanning, the more powerful it's going to work for you. It's about taking responsibility for your stability, emotional well-being. Next, I want to talk to you about the second technique, which is programming. And I talk about this whole concept of programming in my trainings, retreats, lectures with clients, whatever the case may be. I want you to understand something, and I've shared this with many, many folks. The mind alone, by itself, left to its own devices, is a poor, very poor leader. Most people have 4 to 8 thoughts a day that could get them arrested. Okay? It sounds a little shocking, but once you think about it, it may resonate. So the mind is, a gorgeous organ. However, we must begin to train it and cultivate it so that we have a strong integration between the mind and emotions. And programming will do that. Also understand that your mind works in images. Okay? The mind works in images. You plant an image. That's what programming is, planting images and scripts in our mind. And the mind wants to move in that direction. So it's important to understand that you have a lot of power when you begin to use your programming. And when you use your programming, I just want you to think about it as putting images in your mind that you want to move in the direction of, or putting behavior scripts in your mind that reinforce the way you want to behave and move through the world. Let me give you an example of how I have used the programming in a powerful way. You can use it for big issues and little issues. Many years ago, I lived next door to a woman that was just, let's just say, rude. She irked me every time I saw her. A very little regard for her neighbors. Chain smoking, cigarette butts out the window, all this stuff. The list could go on. And I noticed that, literally when I would, pull into my driveway or just see her car or see her, there'd be a tightening in my chest. And I thought, this is no way to live. This keeps happening continuously. So I began to use the pre-programming. Understand that the beauty of pre-programming is this: anything that you can count on happening, as in it happens over and over again, anything you can count on happening, you can start to control for. If something in your life is repeatedly frustrating you, you have to stop and ask yourself, what's going on with me? Why am I giving this thing so much power? It keeps happening. I'm getting a forewarning. I don't even need to make a special prediction. I know it's going to happen today because it happened 2 days ago and it happened last week. I need to do something different here because the same thing keeps happening. So again, anything you can count on happening, you can start to control for. So what do I know about my neighbor? I know she's obnoxious. I know she doesn't care. I know that I get palpitations when I pull up in my driveway and just see her. So I began to put in the pre-programming, and I began to plant images in my mind of pulling up in my driveway and seeing her. Same lady, same loud music, same obnoxious behavior. I began to plant the image in my head of seeing her. She didn't change, but what changed in that mental script was me being very calm, very cool, very collected, and just reminding myself, this is who she is. This is who I live next door to. It's not going to change anytime soon. Let me go in, have a nice spaghetti dinner, and leave it there. So again, when we're talking about the pre-programming, you begin to visualize and record and play again and again and again and again into your mind until you have your comfort. Eventually, that situation changed. Not because she changed. For a number of years, she was still the same obnoxious person. But what changed was the pre-programming and my reaction. See, I was dealing with my behavior and my reactions well before I ever had to see her. And that's how the pre-programming comes into play and can be extremely, extremely powerful. Let me give you another example of how you could use pre-programming. I want you to imagine that you have a massive amount of work to do in your workplace, and you just feel like you're never caught up. Doesn't matter what you do, you're never caught up. And the reality is you're never going to be caught up. So why is it that you're having the heart palpitations and you're giving such a tiny portion of your life more power and energy than it's worth? You could, as you're driving to work, begin to pre-program for the situation and see yourself walking into your office or walking into your workspace with the very confident knowing, I know that I'm going to work here for 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, and I know that I will do my job, and when I get up, there'll still be double the work to do. That is the reality. I didn't create that reality, so I'm not going to stress about it. My responsibility is to do my work, get things done. There you go. You can use pre-programming for weight loss. See yourself at the gym before you even get there. Begin to plant the images in your mind of being organized and energetic throughout your work week and making time to get there. You can pre-program for an energetic attitude at work or in your life. I'm telling you, there is great power. There is great power in images and great power in sitting down with yourself and starting to create some of those mental videos the same way that you would watch a video that a director and actors and actresses participated in. Create those video scripts and images in your mind and start to play them out, because as you do that, this is the direction that your behavior wants to move in. Again, I will be creating a full series on YouTube, just empowerment series of more strategies that you can use to get lift on life in this new relationship environment that we're living in. In addition, I also want to give you a reminder that They're Not Coming. This is a book that I wrote, and it addresses many of the strategies we talked about. It addresses the changing landscape in the new relationship environment and how you can stay strong and positive. It's on Amazon.com now. It's called They're Not Coming, Waiting for Rescue on the Roadside of Life. Again, available on Amazon. I thank you so much, and I will see you soon.